There have been several Nashville Predators players mentioned this season for both the Calder and Vezina Trophy. On today's Locked On Predators, we're going to take a closer look at my pick for the Calder since Tanner Jeannot was not a finalist. And we're going to discuss whether Juuse Saros may be Nashville's next Vezina winner.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Predators your first listen of the day. I am Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer at ontheforecheck.com. I am usually joined by my partner in crime, Nick Morgan. Nick is wrapping up a well-deserved and what sounds like a fabulous vacation, and he'll be back with us soon. But I am flying solo today, and we are going to be talking about NHL end of the season awards today and tomorrow. We're going to be taking a look at some of the major awards and the Nashville Predators that have been associated with these awards. Today, I am joined by two very special guests. JD Hernandez is going to be joining me first. He is the host of Locked On Anaheim Ducks. Since Jeannot was not a finalist, I was curious to hear more about my Calder picks rookie season. So I'm joined now by Spicy JD, host of Locked On Anaheim Ducks. We've had quite an interesting pre-record conversation. So he is feeling a little feisty. So this is going to be a great conversation. And speaking of feisty and spicy, the Ducks and the Predators, when they get together, there was a little bit of spice bubbling up with these two teams this season.
Yeah, think? I mean, not as bad as other teams, but there was a little bit of spice. There's been spice between these two teams since the 2017 Western Conference Finals. Not that we can ever forget that.
Yeah. Thanks no. We remember it too. Don't worry. We remember it probably differently than you do.
Yeah. Thanks for that, by the way. That was fun.
So we're talking about some of these end of the season NHL awards, and Nashville does not have anybody in the Calder Cup or the Calder Trophy running, but we have been very interested in it. Nashville has a guy named Tanner Jeannot, and for a while his name was kind of tossed in the Calder conversation. In the end, didn't work out for him. But one name that has consistently been mentioned that I want to talk to you about is Trevor Zegras. Now, this is a young, oh my gosh, is that cereal or an action figure?
That's a bobblehead.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, this is an impressive young man who has had quite the rookie season. Last season, he played 24 games for the Ducks. Came back in this season. Did his performance, what you were able to see of him last season, did it set expectations for this season? Did you really catch glimpses of what he was capable of when you saw him briefly last season?
Okay. When I saw him last season in person in San Diego in the bubble, I could see the work that he puts in. He prepares like crazy. And that's when I knew he was going to have at least a good season. The reason I didn't think he was going to have a spectacular season like he had is because of the current head coach, Dallas Eakins, who for some God unknown reason he's back for another year. I don't know why. Ducks fans don't know why, but that's another conversation. Trevor Zegras had a spectacular season in spite of Dallas Eakins. This is with all the times that Trevor Zegras got unceremoniously benched during this season.
Wow.
He got benched. Actually, let's go back in time, shall we? Yeah, let's go back. First game of the season. He only played a few minutes. He got benched early in the season. Let's go back. Also started the season. Oh, he got healthy scratched. Why did he get healthy scratched? Why, Coach Eakins? We're protecting him? Okay, apparently he was getting protected. Let's try this again. Oh, he got benched again. Trevor Zegras on a game, and I want to say this was early in the season, where he got benched after scoring 2 goals. There were several fans there that were pissed off that
Well,
he
yeah.
didn't get a chance to score a hat trick. And this was a game against the Vancouver Canucks where he scored those 2 goals very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got benched pretty much the rest of the game because they're no. Trevor Zegras is fine. At least put him out there for a few shifts. Give the fans what they want. Give them the chance to get a hat trick.
Energy.
Nope.
Like, I love his vibe. This is somebody who obviously takes hockey very seriously, but he carries himself uh, almost without that pressure. It seems like he just functions so comfortably at the level he plays at, and doesn't seem like he is wide-eyed in this league. It doesn't seem like this has been a really hard adjustment year for him. What is he like? Am I reading him right?
You are. He is one of the coolest characters out there. And especially, he looked the most comfortable when he was out there on the line with Rickard Raquel before the trade and his good buddy, Sonny Milano.
Oh, we know him.
Watching,
Yes.
watching the chemistry between Sonny and Trevor was amazing. I mean, we go back to the Flying Zeagle, the one that set the world on fire, and
Yes.
they were calling for that play. It's not just the coolness, but the chemistry as well.
Mhm.
And the chemistry with certain players like a Sonny Milano. And you could just see how comfortable he is just with the offensive scheme that was put on with particular guys. Now, it did kind of get a little bit lesser towards the end of the season when, for some reason, Trevor Zegras was on a line with Derek Grant, who, I mean, we like Derek Grant, but he's
Mhm.
not a first liner. He's not a second line. He's a fourth line guy. And
Yeah.
Trevor Zegras did make him look good, but there were several occasions towards the end of the season where Trevor would have a pass right on the tape. And what would Grant do? Pretty much nothing.
Yeah.
Also, Vinny Lettieri. Now, we love Vinny Lettieri in San Diego. Great San Diego goals player. Great. Does he tries to work hard, but he's not the same caliber as a Rickard Raquel, who's an all-star, or a Sonny Milano. But for the
Yeah.
most part, Z is pretty much comfortable with wherever he can go because he's just terrific at creating offense and is one of the
Yes.
most imaginative players out there where he can turn a nothing into a spectacular goal. Or he
Yeah.
could just be trapped behind the net and pull off a lacrosse goal, not once, but twice.
Amazing. So when people think of Trevor Zegras, I think the first thing they do think of is the lacrosse goal. They think of him pairing up with Milano for that just incredible goal. What are some other things that stand out about him and his play this season to you when he's out on the ice?
I would say the forechecking has been an improvement for Zegras. I think he's becoming more positionally aware, which stands out to me. What also
Mhm.
stands out to me is just the work ethic that he's been putting in. He's not hot dogging out there. He prepares immensely for
Mhm.
those kind of moments. The stick handling that he does during practice, the stick handling that he does during warmups. I mean, this is, if you've been following Zegras for the past 3-4 years, this is nothing new. But for
Mhm.
the rest of the league, it's that preparedness. It's the focus. The focus that he has now, I think, is better than I've seen it, and even more so than his time at BU with the
Mhm.
Terriers.
Okay, so you mentioned the phrase kind of hot dogging. So we're gonna touch on just a I'm sure a topic that you will love to expand on for us. So there was an incident this season that we have to talk about involving Zegras, and the Ducks were playing the Coyotes. The Coyote broadcaster Tyson Nash made a comment after Zegras was cross-checked in front of the net, and he said, "That's the problem with these young players. You want to embarrass guys. You want to skill it up. You better be prepared to get punched in the mouth."
Mhm.
So tell me, what was the response to that incident in Anaheim? I'm curious.
They were angry. They
Yeah.
were pissed. Tyson Nash became public enemy number 1 in Anaheim. And never mind that it was a 5-0 game beating the Phoenix Coyotes. I
Oh,
got my
wow.
shot in there. Oh, I'm going to get my shots in right now for Phoenix. I mean, that franchise has been abysmal all season long, down in the cellar, losing 50 plus games. Yay. Look at how that reaction was. There were
Yeah.
some fans saying, you know what? Yeah, Zegras is hot dogging it. He is skilling it up. And that's where hockey fans kind of, for the most part, they were behind Zegras, but there were other fans that were behind Tyson Nash. And it almost, for a couple of days there, kind of caused a divide between hockey
Yes.
fans.
Yes.
Because there were fans. Yeah, you remember that. Like there was a divide.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, across the board, it wasn't just an Anaheim thing. I mean, across the board in hockey, it was a whole thing.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't get it.
Mm-mm.
You have one of the faces of the league, someone that has tremendous skill. Trevor Zegras isn't hot dogging it. You know what he's trying to do? He's trying to score goals. He's trying to win games. They were winning 5-0.
Yes.
And then it wasn't even like a large tap. It was a little tap. And the puck was loose. On the post game on Bally Sports Web, Trevor did say the puck was loose.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't the worst part about it. The worst part about that whole thing was that there was a player that got injured. An all-star player that got injured and was out for a few games. Troy Terry got sucker punched by Jay Beagle. So if you thought, I shouldn't say that. Jay Beagle was public enemy number 1. Tyson was public enemy number 2. They were both just, Anaheim fans were ready to just get the pitchforks and fire and say, no, we're going to go after these guys. And to do that on the last time those two teams met, it is Bush League.
Yes.
It was one of the worst moments and brought out some of the worst for the hockey fans, something that I hate to see. And, this was brought up on several articles that pointed out that, disturbing that a guy was punished, for skilling it up. It was disturbing. It was disturbing that Troy Terry got hurt. It was disturbing that the analyst said that. It was disturbing that there were other analysts not saying it outright, but kind of taking the side of Nash.
Tell me, what are some areas of his game that you think he's going to improve in as he gets more experience, as he gets a little bit older? Where do you think you're going to see improvement?
This is going to be a tough question all offseason because of the fact that Coach Dallas Eakins has been holding him back little by little. So there is still kind of that fear. And that's kind of why I made that tongue-in-cheek joke last season that, Zegras is going to regress. I mean, that was kind of said tongue-in-cheek. That was mostly in response to Dallas Eakins saying that, I'm not sure if Zegras is going to make that was ridiculous.
Wow.
That Eakins even said that. I thought it was unbelievable. No, Zegras belongs on the team, 100%.
Yes.
100%.
Wow.
I think he can improve if he's paired up with the right guys. And a lot of that's going to depend on off-season moves. I mean, the Ducks have $41 million in cap space this season. Who knows who he's going to play with next season? I mean,
can you imagine?
Don't know.
Wow.
So it depends on what GM Pat Verbeek does. It depends who he plays with. It depends if Eakins does the right thing and puts him back with Milano. Given the right personnel, I think he's capable of having an 80-point season next year.
Wow.
And maybe, just maybe, you ready for this? This might be like a spicy take, but if he is paired with the right personnel around him, he could have a 40-goal season.
Coming up, I'm going to ask JD the $1 million Calder Trophy question. But first, want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by our friends at Built Bar. So I love brownies. You all know that I'm a big chocolate fan, but one thing that I love more than brownies is the batter. Everybody remembers those childhood memories of licking the spatula when your mom was mixing up the brownies. Well, if you love brownie batter, I've got great news for you. Built Bar has a new creation and it is better than ever. The Brownie Batter Puff. You heard me right. This puff takes protein bars to a whole new level and they're available right now at built.com. With 140 calories, 17 grams of protein, and only 7 grams of sugar, brownie batter puffs are the perfect pick-me-up for any day. All puffs are covered in 100% real chocolate. That means that with Built, you can eat healthy, but you will enjoy doing it. And they're made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. The brownie batter puffs will have you completely forgetting that you are eating a protein bar. Go to built.com right now to get your brownie batter puffs. When you're there, use our promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. It isn't going to be Tanner Jeannot for Calder, but will it be Trevor Zegras? Is Trevor Zegras going to win the Calder this season?
He should. He should win the Calder.
Yes.
Will he? Let's see who he's up against. Mo Seider of the Red Wings and another player that was part of that team that blew a 3-2 series lead and lost another game 7 in the first round and lost a winner-take-all game for the 5th consecutive year. Who's that team again?
Bless.
Who's that team again? Oh, it's the team that happens to reside in the hockey epicenter of the world, Toronto.
Oh, bless their
And
hearts. Misery.
Michael Bunting might just win it because he's in the hockey epicenter of the world.
Mhm.
Let's face it. Toronto, like the hockey world revolves around Toronto.
Right.
And he might win it based on that. I mean, yeah, he's 26 years old. I mean, never mind, he's an older rookie.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that? I'm curious about that. How do you feel about that?
I think there should be a certain limit on rookies. Just
age-wise, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Bunting is right in that area where I think maybe he shouldn't win it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. I think he's a little old. I mean, some people said that about Kaprizov. I mean, Kaprizov was 24 last season, and people thought, okay, like that's like kind of old, but no, whatever. Bunting's 26. He's 26 and a rookie. I like the 24 or under rule. I think that's fine. Kaprizov still would have won Rookie of the Year under those standards, but 26, are you kidding me? Not so much.
I'm just saying it's a little hitch in my giddy up to hear you call 26 old, but I understand. We'll just keep it in context.
Hockey old.
Hockey old. That's right. All right. So we're going to keep our eye out on Trevor Zegras. We're going to keep our eye out on this Calder Trophy. I would not be surprised if Zegras wins it, but we're going to have to wait and see. All right, Spicy JD, where can Locked On Predators fans find you and your podcast?
So you can find me on Twitter at StimpyJD. You could find the show on Twitter at LO_Ducks, where I called out a fan for saying that AHL hockey doesn't belong in California. No, I really got into this person on the last podcast. So you can find the podcast. It's free and available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, all that stuff. So just search for Locked On Anaheim Ducks and look for the episode that says Unhinged, because that last segment got me pissed off. I can't believe anyone has the audacity thinking that hockey doesn't work here in California. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? Hockey works here in California. Come on. I have the stats right here. Come on.
Okay, everybody is going to make Locked On Anaheim Ducks their second listen of the day just to hear that. Just to hear that. One of the awards Nashville Predators fans are most excited about is the Vezina after Juuse Saros played his way into being named a finalist. I sat down with Jay Foester, host of Locked On Blue Jackets and Network Goalie Guru, to talk about the 3 finalists and if Jay thinks Saros could bring home the Vezina. So I am joined now by Jay Foester. Jay is host of Locked On Blue Jackets, but also a goalie person. So Jay is the go-to for goalie questions, goalie analysis, goalie everything. So here we are. We're going to be talking about the Vezina with Jay. So Jay, thanks for taking time to come on.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. I think I said during the Olympics episodes for Locked On NHL that I am always happy to talk about goalies, and I mean it. They're my favorite. They're the best.
Yep. So let's start all the way back at the beginning of the season, September, October 2021. If you're looking at rosters across the NHL, who did you eyeball as possibly having a Vezina worthy season at the beginning of the season?
I mean, I've always liked Markstrom as a goalie. I think he has just a really not fun style, but he plays like a really kind of compact and it's an easy style to play. Like he has kind of that Carey Price style of just doesn't look like he's trying very hard, but somehow nothing gets past him,
Yes.
So he was kind of on my radar as maybe a sleeper pick. I assumed that Igor Shesterkin was going to be, if not nominated, then it was going to be a travesty if he wasn't, because and we kind of saw it through the season of he's the only thing that kept that team afloat.
Yes.
Large parts of the season. That might be my hottest playoff take is that is the Rangers are a very, very bad team with a world-class goaltender.
Yeah. And it can make such a difference in the playoffs. I mean, sometimes that'll get you far.
Yeah, I mean, look at that series. Well, we don't have to get into like too much detail about it, but like the New York Rangers needed 7 games to beat Louis Domingue. He was the third string goalie for Pittsburgh. Like they should have had that series wrapped up in 5 or less. But unfortunately, the Rangers are just not a great team. Like Chris Kreider scoring a bajillion goals aside. But and other kind of goalie things, and this might be me being a homer. This might be my bias, but obviously the off season was a time of great kind of stress and trauma for Elvis Merzlikins. He lost his best friend, and he talked a lot at the start of the season and kind of at training camp. He's like, I'm going to win the Vezina and I'm going to win it for Matisse. And honestly, like the way he has played so far, I think if Elvis had been on a better team, I think he would have had much better stats, because like the best will in the world, like a lot of goaltending stats are team stats.
True.
Like it's so
True.
hard to like look at a goaltender and be like, well, this number is how the performance is, So I think if he's on a better team, he's definitely in conversations for Vezina. I don't think he had a bad season. I think he was inconsistent, and obviously it's kind of come out after the season that he was dealing with the trauma and the PTSD of losing his brother, essentially, losing his best friend. So I think it makes sense that he didn't have the season that I think he wanted to, but right at the start of the season he was going to be my sleeper pick for Vezina winner, because sometimes, like, if Elvis decides to do something, sometimes he just does it. Like, he's that kind of guy. So they were kind of my three picks. I'm just running through goalies in my head to see if there was anyone else. Kind of on the flip side, I did not expect Tristan Jarry to be as good as he was this season.
I would agree with that.
The Penguins had long stretches where they were not very good, and he was putting up fantastic numbers. And so I was kind of surprised that he wasn't in the conversation for the Vezina right at the end. I could very easily have seen him over Markstrom in the Vezina conversation. But it was a weird season. A lot of the goalies that I thought were going to be good were not great. And then you've got some goalies like Jonathan Quick apparently decided that he was going to be 2012 Jonathan Quick again, and I kind of had this conversation on Locked On Kings where Sarah, the host, was like, "Hey, what the heck? Why is Jonathan Quick good again? He hasn't been very good for a couple of seasons, and there's a bunch of different reasons for it, but he was a real kind of surprise." for the
Mhm.
LA Kings.
Coming up, Jay and I take a closer look at the 3 Vezina finalists. But first, want to let you know that this episode's brought to you by our friends at Bet Online. Our partners at Bet Online continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports information. You can find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to their website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. So, how do you evaluate what goaltender is best at his position? Jay and I tackle that topic, and we discuss whether Saros will be bringing the Vezina home to Smashville. In a minute. So we have Jacob Markstrom from the Flames, Igor Shesterkin from the Rangers, and of course, Nashville's own Juuse Saros. Do you feel like they got it right with those 3 being the Vezina finalists at the end of the regular season?
Yeah, I think Shesterkin and Saros definitely. Like I said a little bit earlier, I could have happily swapped Tristan Jarry out for Jacob Markstrom, but I'm not mad at all that
Mhm.
Markstrom is a nominee. And it like we were talking about this off mic a little
Mhm.
bit, but it feels very much like we all know, I think, who is going to win this award, and it feels very much like so we talked about Conor McDavid and the Hart.
Right.
They had to pick 2 other nominees, and then it's the same thing. It was Kirill Kaprizov and 2 other guys that got nominated
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Calder last season. It
Yes.
feels very much like it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be as unanimous as
Mhm.
the Calder or the Hart were last season, but I think there's a very, very clear front runner
Yes.
to this, and so the other 2 guys are kind of like very much like what was it you said? Like
We're
it's
so
just nice
happy
to
to be
know.
it's an honor to be nominated.
Yeah, like
It's the Academy Award. It's just an honor to be nominated
yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah. Okay, so the Vezina is described officially as the goaltender adjudged to be the best at his position. So what does that mean to you when you look for Vezina worthy finalists? What are you looking at?
I mean it's tough because I think a lot of people look at the best goal, and this is something that I think there's been a problem with. I won't name any kind of specific goaltending names because people get very angry at me when I have this
Oh,
opinion, but
mhm.
it's very much, show me a good goalie and I'll show you a good coach.
Mm,
The Jack Adams almost always goes to the coach who has the best
mhm.
goalie. If Gerard Gallant does
Very
not win the
interesting.
Jack
Yeah.
Adams, like, and he's going
Yeah.
to win that on the back of Igor Shesterkin, so it's not quite as hard to define as, say, I think the Norris, for
Oh,
example, is
yeah.
really tough.
So ambiguous.
Yeah, because what is good defense? Is
Mhm.
it the defenseman that scores the most points, which is kind of how
Right.
it's been the last few years, and I don't necessarily agree, but it's a lot easier to kind of quantify. Well, this guy is a good goalie. I think it's easier to point out what is a good goalie as opposed to what makes a good defenseman, because defense is such a nebulous term, especially in
Yes.
today's NHL. So this is a very kind of it's a very kind of long-winded and winding answer to say. I think, to me, the Vezina goes to the goalie who is the best at his position, and I don't necessarily think that is the goaltender with the most wins,
Right.
or the goaltender with the best save percentage, because
Mhm.
I think you have to take into account things like quality of competition, things like quality of teammate,
Yes.
and so, and I think it also comes into account of, I would have been curious to see if Markstrom had been not exempt. What's the word? I wouldn't have been surprised if Markstrom hadn't made it, because he played much more of a tandem role this season than I
True.
expected. Dan Vladar played a lot of games in Calgary this season, and I do wonder if that's why Freddie Anderson in Carolina also didn't get the nod, because he played. It was very much a tandem situation with him and Antti Raanta. So then it becomes really tough. Like, well, so and so had the best numbers, but he also only played 40 games. So does it turn into
right.
Is he good because he's good, or is he just good because he didn't play as many games as the other guys? I think I assume Andrei Vasilevsky led goalies in all games played this season. I should have looked this up before.
Yes, and Saros was second. Yep.
Yeah. So
No,
we look
Hellebuck.
into
I'm wrong. Connor Hellebuck
Connor
had the
Hellebuck,
most
yes.
games. Yep. Had the most games, but Saros was right there. I mean, we really did not have, it's a whole conversation, but Nashville really did not have a tandem situation. So, and it's interesting to me because there are so many factors, like you're talking about, games played. You look at Juuse Saros, one of the stats is that he faced the most shots in the NHL. Well, that's a factor in being a good goaltender, quantity, but part of that is more a reflection, I think, on the defensive performance in front of him. You know what I mean? Like, you can really look at these, some of these statistics and weigh them very differently. It's very ambiguous.
Yeah, definitely. Which is why, and like, I know just enough about advanced stats to make me dangerous, but even like with the best will in the world, I don't think the Professional Hockey Writers Association is going to be voting on who had the best, like, goals saved above average expected or whatever,
Right.
So to me, it kind of comes down to, okay, wins, save percentage, goals allowed against. To me, two of those are not goalie stats. I don't think wins should count as a goalie stat.
True.
Because it's a team thing. You can have teams that win despite their goaltending. Goals allowed against, I don't necessarily think is a goalie stat either, because like you just said, Saros faced the most the most shots in the NHL. So stands to reason that he probably doesn't have a super great goals allowed against average. Again, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I know Elvis finished the season with, I want to say, like a 906, for example.
Yes.
Save percentage, and his goals allowed against was somewhere up in the threes.
If you just look at straight numbers, it's difficult to tell the story of a game, let alone a season, when it comes to something as nuanced as goaltending. And it's a part of defensive stats. It's a part of how much offensive possession time does your team have. Like, there's so much that goes into it that it becomes interesting to me, the process of picking, not this year, but the process of picking a Vezina finalist, because it is a little bit ambiguous. There's not just cut and dry criteria for it. So it's a little bit eye test. It's a little bit statistics. It's a little bit weigh the team. It's not cut and dry. But now I'm going to make it cut and dry, though. See, after saying all that, forget everything I just said. We have Shesterkin, we have Markstrom, we have Saros. Forget the fact you're talking to the Locked On Predators host. That's okay. We're going to excuse that. Who is going to win the Vezina and why?
I mean, I think it's, like we said, it has to be Igor Shesterkin. He's actually my pick for the Hart Trophy as well. I know Austin Matthews scored like a bajillion goals this season and is the best Leaf that's ever existed. And in any other year, I could see Austin Matthews having a case. But for me, for a goalie to be as dominant as Igor Shesterkin has been, to have a goalie as good as he's been. And by the way, how unfair is it that the New York Rangers have basically gone from Henrik Lundqvist, who is probably a top 10 goalie of all time, to Igor Shesterkin, without even anything in the middle. Like, there was they went straight from one to the other. That seems unfair, personally.
Spread the wealth.
But, and like you said, it's, I don't have like a concrete, this is why Igor Shesterkin should win the Vezina, apart from he just, it's a little bit eye test. Every like you just watch him play and he is very much like, it reminds me of Carey Price when he was at
Yes.
his very, very best, or indeed like
Yes.
Henrik Lundqvist when he was at his very, very best. It's hard to look at a goalie and be like, well, they're successful because they're doing this, because there's so many different types of goaltending, there's so many different styles. Like every goalie is different, you know?
Right.
But every time I watch Shesterkin play, I don't know what it is. He feels like a game breaker in the best way. Obviously, his numbers are out of this world good. And I think also to his advantage is the fact that without him, the Rangers are a lottery team,
Yes.
in my opinion.
Yes.
You know, we can talk about Chris Kreider scoring 50 goals. You know, we can talk about Adam Fox being maybe the best young defenseman in the league. You know, you can Avs fans can argue with me all they want about Adam Fox versus Cale Makar, but I think
Oh gosh, don't go there. Just take it from me, having just finished the series
I don't
quickly
have
with them.
hours of the day to have that debate, you know. But you know, you can say, yeah, okay, the Rangers have these two things, but I think without Adam Fox, the Rangers are in the same place that they are right now. Without Chris Kreider, I think the Rangers are in the same place that they are now. Without Igor Shesterkin, I don't think they make the playoffs. I think they're a bottom 10 team in the league. And to me, that is, you know, like Saros. Obviously, the Preds did not have the best postseason experience in the world.
Nope.
To put it lightly, you know, we've all been victims of the Colorado Avalanche. It's fine.
Oh yeah.
But to me, the Preds are more or less what they are with or without Saros. I think Saros helped.
I would agree. Yeah.
I think the Preds had other pieces. Obviously, Roman Josi was phenomenal this year, you know, and so that helped. They had other pieces that I think if you plug in essentially a goalie who is just above replacement, like I feel like you put, God, let's pick a goalie at random. I feel like if you put Darcy Kemper on the Preds, for example, I feel like you'd have more or less the same result.
Right.
If you put basically any other goalie on the Rangers,
it's a whole different outcome.
A whole different story. You know, I think even if you put a Saros or a Markstrom or a Tristan Jarry or, you know, I'm gonna come out and say it. I don't rate Andrei Vasilevsky as a goalie. I think he's a top 10 goalie in this league, but I don't think he's the perennial Vezina candidate that Tampa Bay fans seem to think he is. But even if you put a guy like him on New York, I don't think the story is the same. And so I think to me, Shesterkin is the Rangers this season. He has been the Rangers this season. And so it feels like, you know, how do you look at the performance that he's given and then look at Juuse Saros or Jacob Markstrom, both of whom had excellent seasons. They're not in the same category. You know, I do want to preface this to all the Locked On Preds fans. I love Juuse Saros.
You do. That is true. You do.
Phenomenal.
Yes.
I think, and again, talk about lucking out in goaltending. Going from Pekka Rinne to straight to Juuse Saros is just a real, like, it's so lucky for this team. Or you know, it speaks volumes to the goaltending development of this team. In the same way that, you know, the Penguins kind of walked from Marc-Andre Fleury to Matt Murray to Tristan Jarry. You know, sometimes teams just have good goaltending development, and I think the Preds is one of those teams. And in literally any other year, again, I feel like we'd be having this conversation. I'd be like, yeah, Juuse Saros is going to win a Vezina in his career.
Well, Jay, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your goalie insight with us. Tell the Locked On Predators listeners where they can find you, your podcast, and catch up with you online.
Yeah, so I can't in good conscience recommend paying attention to the Columbus Blue Jackets because I love them dearly, but they are they are my horrible children. However, if you would like to, I am over at LO_Blue Jackets on Twitter. Locked On Blue Jackets is on YouTube. We are everywhere you can get Locked On Predators. So if you want to come and stop by for more goalie talk, we're going to be having a lot of it. Or if you would like some more kind of general hockey talk, or I don't know, dog pictures, Star Wars opinions, weird food takes, you can find that all at _Jacob Foster, JAKOB FORSTER on Twitter.
I want to thank both JD and Jay for joining me today to talk Calder and Vezina. Now, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think that Saros is going to win the Calder? Did Tanner Jeannot's last 10 games cost him a chance to be a finalist? Will Juuse Saros pull an upset over Shesterkin? Let me know in the comments or on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at AnnK_Mama on Ice, and you can find the podcast there at LO_Predators. And we are on YouTube as well. You can check us out there, like and subscribe for your daily Predators content and some arguments once in a while between Nick and I about things like Willy Wonka and Wayne Gretzky records. On tomorrow's show, we will share the details of David Poile and John Hines' media availability and what we can take away from what they share. We're also going to take a look at the Norris and Ted Lindsay Awards. Could Roman Josi bring home both of them? Thank you for making Locked On Predators your first listen of the day. Now go check out JD or Jay for your second listen at Locked On Anaheim Ducks and Locked On Blue Jackets. Have a great day, everyone.